Hello and welcome to the MLB DFS Slate breakdown for Tuesday, May 7th. I'm going to be breaking down the 8-game slate for both FanDuel and DraftKings. We are, however, going to skip the perfect lineup and the winning lineups from tonight's contest as they're still finalizing. The Dodgers game just recently ended, so we're just going to skip through that today and dive into the pitchers to consider and some stacks to consider. Now, because I am doing this the night before, we don't have all the ownership data, but we'll try and go through as much as we can on this slate, starting with pitching. Instead of going by the owned, I am going to just go by our value for DraftKings, and the highest value right now is Seth Lugo. So Lugo's coming in at 2.6 x value, 7.2K. I do think he's way too cheap for DraftKings in this spot for how well he has pitched. However, I do have to bring up the fact that he had a 3.66 FIP over his last 5 starts versus a 1.95 ERA. So there is likely some regression there, but he has been pitching very, very well lately, and he's in a spot versus Milwaukee, who is striking out 27%, low WOBA, low ISO, so it is a pretty interesting spot for him pitching at home. I am definitely intrigued, and on DraftKings, I would have some at 7.2K. Now, the worries here are StatCast data. 43% fly balls, 32% hard contact, a lot of barrel balls. He's bottom 5 in barrel balls the past 30 days, allowing 10. So that's not a great situation, and likely why his FIP is so much higher, or part of the reason why his FIP is so much higher than his ERA. So I'm definitely intrigued. 7.2K is 21.8 combined K rate. I don't mind going there whatsoever. Now, we got Yamamoto here. I think Yamamoto is clearly the best play on this slate. He is only 2.2x. We have him at 22, but he's been pitching extremely well. 2.83 FIP over his last 5, 1.93 ERA. But then if you look at over the whole season, 2.66 FIP and a 2.9 ERA. So he's pitching very well. We got a 30% K rate here. Miami strikes out a little bit more versus righties, 22.8, and they're still a very bad lineup. 0.275 WOBA, 120 ISO. I don't mind whatsoever getting to Yamamoto, and I'm probably going to get to a lot of him. This slate is pretty weak with pitching, and he's definitely one of my favorite targets. So there is some worry with some of his StatCast data, though. 43% hard contact is just a huge number, but limiting fly balls, getting a decent amount of ground balls, and a lot of line drives. But at least he's not letting people get out of the park and home runs on him. With a combined K rate of 26% at only 10.1K, I'm very intrigued. Next, we got Bailey Ober at 7.6K. He is definitely another guy that I'm very intrigued with as a value option on this slate. He's been pitching very, very well lately. 2.42 FIP over his last 5 starts. Now, do have to say that these aren't the best offenses in the world. He did face the Dodgers, but then Detroit, Angels, and White Sox. However, he has another offense that, they do have some power, 160 ISO, but low WOBA, striking out 28% versus righties, and Ober is averaging 30% more fantasy points at home. So with his 24% K rate, his recent form of a 2.42 FIP, I don't mind taking some chances on Ober here. We have seen he has a high 20s ceiling so far this year. Last year he got into the 30s a little bit, and at 7.6K, I'm totally willing to take that chance. He is another guy, however, that does have some worried stuff on his StatCast. Ton of fly balls, almost 45%, but at least it's not hard contact. Only 25% hard contact, but not very much soft contact. However, he is letting some barrels go. So there is a good chance that he gives up a home run or two. However, as long as there's nobody on base, it's not really going to hurt you. The strikeout should be there. I'm definitely intrigued with some over. Next, we got Shota Amanga. Now, this guy has been pitching absolutely masterful. He's been extremely good. Now, I do got to say, I think there is going to be some regression coming his way. 0.94 ERA with a 2.69 FIP. And then if over, the full season, 0.78 ERA, 2.25 FIP. That ERA is going to have to come up. The other thing that has me worried with him a little bit is his K rate has slowly been declining throughout the season. Over the last 5, he's down to 23.4. It's 26.5 on the season. Just a couple starts ago, that number was 30. So it's definitely coming down. However, he has been very good. His StatCast data looks pretty good. The one thing I do need to bring up about this game, it is a Wrigley game. It does look like there's about 10 mile an hour wind blowing out. There's, somewhat warm temperatures. It's like 60s, 70s. The ball should fly a little bit. And Wrigley, when the ball, when the wind is going out, the ball flies a lot more there. So I am not as intrigued with him as I have been lately. San Diego's not striking out versus lefties. They have a solid WOBA. And I think this 140 ISO is going to come back up because Machado should be back in the lineup, and he absolutely crushes lefties, and he will be a big part of that ISO going up. So I'm very much intrigued with, or not really intrigued with going to Shota too much. If I get a little bit of him, fine. I just don't want to go overboard. Colin Ray versus the Royals. Ray's a big-time regression candidate in my book. 2.83 ERA with a FIP of 5. Even over his last 20 starts, 3.83 and a 4.91. I think he is going to get some regression. And this Royals team's been hitting decently, so I wouldn't be that surprised if it comes now. I'm not really interested in Ray. I don't think his K upside is there. I think there's some regression possibly coming, and not loving the StatCast data either. Miles Mikolas, he is only 6K, so I wouldn't, take him out of my pool. He does at least have a 4.5K line on sportsbooks, but I'm not really looking to get Mikolas. If he ends up in a couple lineups, fine. Not really liking Verlander either. It's the same thing. I think regression's coming to him. He's been decent lately, but this FIP of 5, ERA of 3, and then over the last 20, it's kind of the same story. He's just not the guy that he used to be. The K rate's way down. He's still 9K at a 19% combined K rate at 9K. I just can't do that. Allowing a ton of fly balls too, but once again, at least they're not hard contact. Not too into Buto, Hancock, or Randy Vasquez. One guy that I am a little bit interested in is Luis Gil. He is a guy I have talked up recently, but look, over his last 20 starts, 3.83 FIP. Over the last 5, 3.63 FIP. But that goes with a 30% K rate. The StatCast data isn't great. However, there is upside here. And the Houston Astros offense just hasn't really got it together. And sometimes the back end of that lineup doesn't look that great right now. So if the lineup is a little bit less than favorable tomorrow, you got that 30% K rate. I'm absolutely willing to take some shots at Gil at 8.3K because I think the upside is there, and I'm intrigued to go that way with it. So definitely willing to go there. Kyle Harrison's only 6.4K. He has upside, but it's in Colorado, and I really, really struggle with having him in Colorado. So I don't know if I'm going to get there, but it is at least a little bit interesting just because there's that 24.5% K rate at 6.4K. Very, very risky, but it is what it is there. Sometimes you got to take some chances. And then Ronaldo Lopez isn't getting absolutely any love from us right now, but I think he probably should. This projection should probably go up a little bit here. He has just been extremely good so far this season. Now, I do think he's a little too expensive. The K rate, 26%, 27%, combined K rate at 25% on this slate where there's only a handful of pitchers, not even really a handful of pitchers that we like. I think Lopez needs to be in the conversation at least. I do have to point out, though, that it should be fairly warm in Atlanta, so that ball could be traveling a little bit. And he does have a 41% fly ball rate, has a 31% hard contact rate. There's a chance that that could bite him a little bit, and he is another guy where regression could come. 1.5 ERA versus 2.99 FIP. If you go out to the last 20 starts, 3.37 FIP and 1.45 ERA. So regression could come here a little bit. It got him a little bit last game, but this is going to be a little bit better hitting weather, and I think that's probably part of the reason why we have the lower projection on him right now. But I do think it should be a little bit higher, and he should probably be at least in consideration to get into some lineups tomorrow. So let's get over to the FanDuel and our pitchers here. We got Yamamoto. Said I love it, and I'm going to have a lot of them on DraftKings. Lugo is coming in way more expensive. I'm probably not going to get nearly as much Lugo on FanDuel as I would on DraftKings. Simply is the upside. He is 9.7K. At least he works deep into games routinely, so that quality start factor is absolutely there. But I do worry about his upside. 21% K rate, 19 over the last 5. Only a 22% combined K rate at 9.7K is a little hard for me to get there. I don't mind a little bit, but I'm not going overboard. I would much prefer Bailey Ober at 8.5K. Manga may pop up a little bit. Definitely into Luis Gil. And a little bit of Lopez probably again as well. I do want to talk about Edward Cabrera a little bit. We've talked about all these guys that have are likely going to regress where, their FIP is way higher than their ERA. Cabrera is the other way. His ERA is way higher than his FIP, and I think he is going to get some positive regression coming in here soon. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen against the Dodgers. There's a lot of reasons that it won't. One, the Dodgers' offense is extremely good. Two, he's been way worse away. But I just want to bring up this fact that he has been pitching better than some of the stats show. And he has a real nice K rate, 28% over his last 20, 31.7 over his last 5. The StatCast data looks good. 25% combined K rate at 8.3K is a little bit interesting. He's going to go unowned. If you really want to get wild and hope it's a night where he's able to pitch around, Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, and then strike out the rest of the lineup, it becomes interesting. So I don't absolutely hate it. It's just super risky. And the other thing is that he hasn't been working deep into games, which takes that quality start factor away. So that'll kind of do it with pitching on both sites. So let's get over to some stacks. Do want to bring the attention that we do have a Colorado game here. One thing, though, it is kind of cool in Colorado. I think it's right around 50-degree temps. So that will negate the elevation a little bit, just won't make it quite as hitter friendly. Whereas the Padres and Cubs are in Wrigley with the wind blowing out, which will help it be more hitter friendly. So, highest FIP over the last 20 is Randy Vasquez. So the Cubs are in play, and hitting, hitting weather in Chicago is always a nice one. So definitely intrigued with some Cubs stacks. Now, we can't do the normal ownership one, but we will do our highest projected stacks, and it is the Dodgers. Even though Cabrera is on the bump, the Dodgers are just that good of an offense, and they're clicking right now. They are really hitting the ball well. Now, the issue here, they're only 1.9x because they are so expensive. So getting to them will, if you try to go a 5-man stack, it is going to be hard to fill the pieces around them. You're not going to be able to pay up for pitching with a pitcher probably, or you have to pay up with one and then dig deep for the other. It's going to be hard to make good lineups with, one of these 28, 27K stacks. If you go down, find the 24, 25 K ones, you will probably be able to get some stacks that make sense. But that, you definitely lose some ceiling when you're doing that. So Dodgers, definitely interesting. Let's take a look at the value. And value is going to Miami versus Yamamoto. This one is extremely scary to me. I personally probably not going here. I think Miami is a much worse offense right now without Arise. So they did get Berger back today at least, but I'm not going to have much Miami. Seattle now, I probably will have some Seattle versus Ober. Ober's been very good lately, but 4.82 FIP over his last 20. So that just goes to show us that he can get blown up. He's just been really good in the short term, so I'm not, I'm absolutely willing to go with some Seattle stacks there. Now let's go to the ceiling. Highest ceiling, we got Dodgers and we got Boston. So I did mention Atlanta does have nice hitting weather, warm temperatures. Boston's popping up a little bit. They've been hitting the ball pretty well. Just Lopez has been very, very good to start the year. However, that regression monster is probably going to come soon. Houston's popping up a little bit against Lou Gill. Now, Lou Gill is a guy that has struggled to work deep into games, so if Houston's able to get to him a little earlier into the day, get into that bullpen, then they could definitely do it as well. Now, let's take a look at the implied totals. So, highest implied total, we got Giants. I do expect the Giants to be the highest owned stacks on the day. 5.4 total implied total. They're in Colorado. Dakota Hudson's on the bump with a 5.08 FIP, 5.38 over the last 5, and then their bullpen is less than desirable. So I do expect the Giants to be a very popular stack. I don't mind getting to some of them. I just don't love that offense as a whole. Next, Atlanta is popping up, 4.9 implied total. It is Cutter Crawford. Cutter Crawford does pitch better away than he does at home, but his home is Fenway. He is now going to Truist where it's 80 degrees out, and that's probably not going to go too much better for him. However, he has been very good lately, as the Boston rotation has been as a whole. And Atlanta just got swept by the Braves, and their offense hasn't really got it going for a little while. So Atlanta is one of those one of those spots tomorrow where if they are going low owned, I will take some shots. If they have ownership, I'm probably going another way. You got a good pitcher and the team's slumping. KC's popping up. I'm very intrigued with KC going against Colin Ray. He's not that great, right? FIP right around 5. Bullpen's been decent, though. The Dodgers, 4.8 implied total. Cabrera has been very good, even though his ERA does not say that he's been back that good. But Miami's bullpen is bad. So if he gets out early, it makes it very interesting. Colorado's popping up, 4.6 implied total against Kyle Harrison, who is allowing 36% hard contact, high average exit velocity, and their bullpen's bad. So I think Colorado is a stack that likely goes a little under-owned. It is in Colorado. Everybody is going to go the San Francisco one, but Colorado has the same hitting environment. They can definitely get it done. Definitely a bit interested in them, as I am with Minnesota. They've been hitting the ball well. Hancock can get hit around. He's allowing some hard contact, some high average exit velocity. The issue here is the bullpen's been very good. And New York, I think you can go to New York. Verlander, a FIP of 5 over his last 5 starts, 3.95 over his last 20. He's just not that guy anymore. Now, he isn't allowing a ton of hard contact, but the bullpen is bad. So if they can get Verlander out of the game quick, Yankees could do some damage. Everything down below here, it's kind of like I may have some stacks, but I'm not going to go, fully into it. So that's pretty much it for today. I do got to bring up the Cubs and the Padres. It is the better hitting weather. I am intrigued with either one of those teams for tomorrow. The Cubs are in the better spot on paper. They are going up against Randy Vasquez instead of going against Shota. Shota's been extremely good. Vasquez, on the other hand, has not been good, and he's given up a high average exit velocity. The bullpen's been just okay. Definitely intrigued with those Cub stacks too. And I would expect once the Vegas totals do come out that they're up in this top echelon of teams as well. So that'll do it for us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck tomorrow, and let's make some money. Peace.